Corinthians chapter 8, 24 verses to get through. Quickly as we can, going verse by verse through 2 Corinthians chapter 8. But before we begin, let me pause and run in and use the restroom. Alright, we are still ticking 1 Corinthians chapter 8. 1 Corinthians chapter 8, going verse by verse through 2 Corinthians chapter 8. They're going verse by verse. No better way to study the Bible than verse by verse. Alright, with that stated, 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 1. Moreover, brethren, we do you to wit of the grace of God bestowed on the churches of Macedonia. Verse 2. How that in a great trial of affliction, the abundance of their joy and their deep poverty abounded unto the riches of the liberty. 3. For to their power are their record, yea, and behind their power they were willing of themselves, for playing us with much entreaty that we would receive the gift and take upon us the fellowship of the ministering to the saints. 5. And this they did not as we hoped, but first gave their own selves to the Lord, and unto us by the will of God. 6. Inasmuch that we desired Titus, that as he had begun, so he would also finish in you the same grace also. 7. Therefore, as ye abound in everything in faith and utter diligence, and your love to us, see that ye abound in this grace also. I speak not, verse 8, I speak not by commandment, but by occasion of the forwardness of others. 9. Forwardness of others, and to prove the sincerity of your love. 9. For ye know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that through he was rich, yet for your sakes he became poor, that ye through his poverty might be rich. 10. And wherein I gave my advice, for this is expedient for you, who have begun before, not only to do, but also to be forward a year ago. 11. Now therefore perform the doing of it, that as therefore was a readiness to will, so there may be a performance also out of that which ye have. 12. For if there be first a willing mind, it is accepted according to that a man hath, and not according to that he hath not. 13. For I need not that other men be eased, and ye burden. 14. But by an equality that now at this time your abundance may be a supply for their want, that their abundance also may be a supply for your want, that there may be equality. 15. Here's where we have to go to the Old Testament. As it is written, he that had gathered much had nothing over, and he that hath gathered little had no lack. That's from Exodus 16:18. So flip with me to Exodus 16:18, and we'll read this again in a minute and continue. But Exodus chapter 16 and verse 18, we read, keep your finger there to mark your place, but flip back to the Old Testament, Exodus 16 verse 18. And we read, and when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. Anytime you're reading the New Testament and you see, as it is written, that's a quote from somewhere in the Old Testament. Now, back to 2 Corinthians 8:15. As it is written, he that had gathered much had nothing over, and he that had gathered little had no lack. Now verse 16. But thanks be to God which put the same earnest care into the heart of Titus for you. 17. For indeed he accepted the exhortation, but being more forward of his own accord, he went unto you. 18. And we have sent with him the brother whose praise is in the gospel throughout all the churches. 19. And not that only, but who was also chosen of the churches to travel with us with his disgrace, which is administered by us to the glory of the same Lord, and declaration of your ready mind. 20, avoiding this, that no man should blame us in this abundance which is ministered by us. 21, providing for the honest things, not only in the sight of the Lord, but also in the sight of men. 22, and we have sent with them our brother, whom we have oftentimes proved vigilant in many things, but now much more vigilant upon the great confidence which I have in you. 23, whether any do inquire of Titus, he is my partner and fellow laborer, fellow helper concerning you, or wasn't be inquired of. They are the messengers of the churches and the glory of Christ. 24, wherefore show ye to them and before the churches the proof of your love and of our boasting on your behalf. Alright, Wordline, see you next time for chapter 9. The gospel of salvation is 1 Corinthians 15, 1 through 4. It is all about how Christ died for our sins, was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the scriptures. Alright, Wordline, see you next time for chapter 9. Bye-bye.